Very selective. The horse was basically the secret weapon of the Native Americans, or not very much of a secret, but it was the special weapon when they were trying to remain free and rebel against the American government. So very deliberately, the American government removed the original native horses and destroyed them and replaced them with largely draft horses to try to make farmers out of the natives. Of those original native horses, there aren't very many left. There's some in different breeds, different populations. Some are much closer than others. But each area would have originally had its own type of Native American horse, and consequently early ranch horse that was descended in part from those Native American horses. The Nokota is the early Native American and early ranch horse of North Dakota, the Badlands of North Dakota, the Montana, the old Cayuse, the old Northern Plains horse. It's very distinctive from all the other breeds because of its really angular hind end, a characteristic that even Frederick Remington commented upon way back in the late 1800s when he traveled to the Northern Plains. He mentioned about the Cayuse being the only Mustang with that square hind end from behind, the real low-set tail. He also talked about how the Nokota, then called the Cayuse, the Nakota is descended from, is heavier, stouter, and more powerful than the Texas horse, but also more docile. A different variant upon the Spanish horse. The natives of the Northern Plains selected for those characteristics. They also preferred roans, which Frederick Remington mentioned, almost always roan in color, no matter how slight. This horse was blue roan at birth. It's turning gray with age. It's pretty close to blue roan on his body. You can see the gray on his face. You look at Sitting Bull's descriptions of his father's horses. Almost all roans, blacks, and grays. You look at his artwork and his descriptions of his war horses, mostly blue roans. He had one preferred, dapple gray Overo. You look at the old photographs, Overos, Stabinos, roans, blacks, grays, occasionally bays and sorrels, but not many. What happened was, when Sitting Bull surrendered after his flight to Canada in the late 1800s, his horses were confiscated by the U.S. military. But uniquely, they were actually sold to the Marquis de Moors, founder of the town of Medora in western North Dakota. The Marquis de Moors was a Frenchman, so he didn't have the prejudices against the Native American horses that most of the locals had. He thought they were great horses. He used them on his ranch. His wife rode them. There's pictures of her. She was a rugged frontiersman, also atypical for the time. And they bred these horses, some of them still with the scars from the Battle of Little Bighorn, on their ranch, basically free-range, semi-feral setting in western North Dakota. Other ranchers picked up on this, especially after large blizzards decimated the cattle population in the area. The ranchers switched to raising horses because that's what they could do successfully. Other ranchers would crossbreed, trying to breed up size. A.C. Heidi Cooper had one of the largest horse ranches in America, breeding Sioux mares to thoroughbred and Percheron stallions, sending them east for polo horses for extremely high prices for the time. At the time, they called them the Great American Horse. Also breeding for stage horses. The Nakotas continued in the area under both rancher and traditional types. Eventually, wild horses were exterminated. The area still would have had other wild horses, but they would have been the similar type, the flavor bred by the Native Americans, the early ranchers, for that unique habitat. For the really rugged Badlands, they need the heavy bones, the heavy feet. They have to be a sturdy horse. They need lots of acceleration to power up and down those buttes to make sharp maneuvers, hence the real low-set hind end.